Hello my friends, welcome to the metal shop. Don't really have a whole ton to report today. Enjoy that video of my shadow there. I've got quite a bit done, or it's taken a lot of time I should say, but nothing very exciting to report. I got some of the wiring done in here. I've run the battery cable. It's hooked up, you can see it there. It's hooked up to the alternator, directly to the alternator, and then I have a heavy wire, heavy 2-gauge wire from the alternator back here to this solenoid or relay. Now this wasn't necessary because I have a high torque, a Ford Performance high torque starter with its own solenoid on it. It's not installed yet because I still have to do the trans. You can see the, enjoy. You can see the dipstick there for the automatic trans is still in place, so I'm going to wait to do the starter. But I wanted this relay here so that I had, a post for battery positive where I could hook all this stuff up to. So this is the starter cable here on this side. The ignition runs to this, turns, the ignition, you turn the ignition, sends power to the starter, goes to the starter. Also, I have a jumper wire going to the starter to engage that solenoid. So it's kind of a redundant system, but it should work. I have the voltage regulator that I didn't end up needing, but I purchased a long time ago from Summit. Can't return it, and it looks really cool. It's a vintage reproduction. So just between me and you, all my faithful viewers, that's a fake. Doesn't do anything. I have a one-wire alternator that doesn't require, it has an internal voltage regulator. So I actually even had a hole. I've managed to reuse all of the holes that I drilled by mistake in the firewall here. I had to obviously drill another one. So that harness goes to nowhere. I've also run tougher to see back in here. That is just going to be a power distribution block. I've run a really nice 10-gauge wire over to this, and I will have battery positive for, basically whatever we end up needing in here. Still kind of a little bit of a mess of wires. I have the wheel wells, the inner wheel wells to install, and I have to wire up the electric fan right there, and I'd really rather run the harness inside on top of the inner wheel well to get to that than, combine it in this sea of snakes here, which is too close to the headers, in my opinion. I've put the hot rod heat wrap over all the harnesses that go under there, and I am going to wrap the headers once they're fitted properly. I'm going to wrap that with, some super DEI heat wrap there. So I've really done everything I can there to protect all of those wires. So I do have one other thing going on that I will show you in the back of the car. All right, so here at the back, you can see my wonderful cutting in job. You should have just watched that video. And I have the trunk lid stay installed. I followed their instructions, and what it did was it mounted it as low and as far back, towards the front edge of the trunk on the car. Now Pete's Garage did an excellent video on this. He mounted his further up here, and then that pushes this further out. It can really, you'll figure it out if you're trying to do it. It can really be mounted anywhere as long as it opens and latches and closes. Again, a little bit fiddly, but we did get it. I've run the cable here that's like a Bowden cable, like for switching gears on your bike, etc. For the trunk latch. And a little bit of overkill here. I used this is just a carburetor cable stay, and I actually ground down a couple of 1/4-inch bolts rather than the crappy little Phillips head that they came with. You just put one Phillips head on one side. I did both sides because when the trunk is latched, the only way to open it is with that Bowden cable. And I've wrapped it in this really nice, the Summit Racing cloth, vintage looking wrap there. The other wire that you see is for the plate light that I've also run there. And thankfully I had a hole that was too big. Originally, I don't even know what I was thinking. I drilled a big hole there to run the cable for the plate light, and also I was going to run the harness through that hole. Why I put it on the top, I don't know, but it ended up working out. So hang on one second here. Let's see. I don't know if we can see this or not. Tough to see, get up here behind the seat. Right. So I managed to shut off the phone here when I was trying to reach it down here to film this, but there's the Bowden cable. It's up here behind the seat. It works pretty good. What you just heard was the trunk unlatching, and I had that stay temporarily hanging on in there, and it just threw it out. Here, let's go have a look. There she is right there, where I had it taped to the inside of the lid. But hey, it works. Very important that you get that working before you work on this. So what they want you to do is you clip this in place here, you latch it, you lower the hood, and you mark it where it goes, where it's exactly where it's supposed to be. There's a plate in here. They want you to thread through the plate so that you can adjust this up and down as necessary. And they want you to put a large nylock nut on the underside of it as well. Problem that I'm running into is, obviously, when you close the trunk, to mark this, you've got a space about this big. It's nearly impossible. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and get my shop assistant, Brady Clark, he has a friend over too, see if I can get one of them to climb in the trunk and mark that for me. This may require some bribery, I'm not sure. Stand by, see how we do. All right, so I have convinced Brady Clark to get into the trunk. You did not convince me. He's protesting. He's doing this against his will. So let's get this going on here. He's got his instructions. He knows what we're supposed to be doing here.
Okay.
Is it touching the...
Yeah.
Okay, so draw your little... Just get as much of the circle drawn around it as you can.
Okay.
And let's see how we did. Oh, look at that. Not bad. And you're released. Don't call child services and tell them that my dad locked me in the trunk.
Call child services. Make sure to.
Did you want to give a shout out to your channel?
Yeah, it's Refueled. It's a Minecraft profile picture. Watch my videos, or you're a nerd.
I'll put a link in the description. Somewhere down there. So, you get the hole that the shop assistant marked out, and I did verify it just so you guys know, our little secret. I put a little bit of anti-seize on it and shut it, and guess what? His mark was perfect. So, anyway, I got drilled out to 27/64 per the instructions, and we're going to tap the hole. I got a nicely greased, good tap there. The steel plate that's mounted underneath here is very soft. It drilled pretty easily, just FYI, and I don't know if you noticed that. A little bit of Murphy's Law at work right there. That little ding right there, when I pulled the latch to demonstrate that to you guys, yeah, that's where this fell. Chunk, and took a nice little dig right there. But thankfully, like I said, that will be covered up. And see, look, I'm still getting anti-seize on everything. That will be covered up with the weather stripping. So be it. So let's get this hole tapped and away we go. All right, well, that was a lot harder than it needed to be. I think instructions call for a 27/64 hole to be tapped out. Should have gone up another size or two, 7/16 or 29/64. I get what they're trying to do. They want to save you as much meat as you can in the plate for the threads, but that was super hard to do with a hand tap. I mean, this is well greased and you're going just a little bit, you know, you're backing off, letting the shavings fall out. You're back, you're forth, you're back and forth. That was, and you got to be careful because those taps, they will break, even these big ones. It's like a tempered steel or whatever. So what we're running into, and I anticipated this, so I'm not real upset about it. I already did a test fit here. We'll put this down, and I'll just show you real quick, although you won't be able to see it, is when you're like this, what happens right now is this is sticking out too long. And I anticipated that, which again, what you want is you want as much meat as possible in engaging into this. And you can see here, I'm probably going to have to, whittle away a little bit here with the Dremel on this fiberglass just to give me a little bit more room. But what I'm running into is, and again, oops, I anticipated this, is it won't latch. It's just, it's hitting. And that's fine. But I've had enough for today. So let's, I'm going to have to take this out. I'm going to grind this back a little bit. I'm going to grind just a little bit up here, very gingerly with the Dremel. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get this thing latching tomorrow. Cool. All right, so it's a day or two later. I need to close out this video here on the trunk. And quite honestly, this video will just be the latest in a long line of abject failures that I've suffered with this car. And the trunk won't latch. You saw me put the shop assistant Brady Clark in here and mark this, and he did a great job. I double checked his work. It's right where it needs to be, and it just won't latch. If I unscrew this all of the way, and you're supposed to put a lock nut on the underside here, if I unscrew this all the way, so there's maybe one single thread holding like that, it will latch to one click. And, you know, I'm just, whatever. I follow their instructions to a T, and I have two non-functioning doors, and now I have a non-functioning trunk, because it should be like this, roughly, you know, nice and low, and it should latch. It's in the right spot. It just doesn't latch. And it's probably a combination of things. The trunk hits here, so the trunk itself and the car, the shapes are messed up. It could be the hinges, could need an adjustment or whatever. Like I remember when it's installed, the trunk is kind of sprung. It hits here, it rides up high on this side. The latch, now this was not installed by me, it was done by the previous owner, isn't quite right. It could come down, you know, 3/16 of an inch. It couldn't come down 1/4 of an inch, but it could come down a little bit. The holes could be enlarged. Maybe that would make a difference. I'm not sure, honestly. But, you know, I set a camera up in there and no latch, no latchy. So I'm pretty discouraged. You know, I'm tired of these projects being 10 times harder than they need to be and turning out like crap in the end. I'm not even sure if I took this to a professional body shop to have the doors and the trunk reworked, if it would even make a difference. I'm just not sure. And to make matters worse, I found a guy locally where I work, and I tracked him down, who has one of these. His is a Contemporary Motor Carriages, or Contemporary Motor Classics, whatever the company is. His was finished in 1992, and I checked out the car, and it was obvious that it was you know, the same kit as this. And I checked it out, and the gaps on the trunk were perfect. The gaps in the doors were perfect. They latched beautifully. And it's like, I don't get it. The only thing I can think of is this one. This is so far down the line, so far removed from the classic motor carriages. It's like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. And we're so far down the line that they're just garbage. I mean, I am so discouraged right now. I don't know when you're going to see the next video, because honestly, I'm running out of projects. I can paint in the doors that fit like absolute garbage, and they'll get all dung up when you try and get the fitment right. I still need to do the inner wheel wells, and the friend of mine that's building the one piece I'm missing is holding that up. But that is like a stack of dominoes with the inner wheel wells. Once I mount those, I can mount the hood stay, I can mount the fresh air vents, I can mount the horns, I can route wiring harness to the fan. That's holding up a lot of things. So I'm out of projects, and quite honestly, I'm completely out of motivation on this, hunk of garbage. I'm to the point where I may even have to do, and I'll insert a picture here, I might have to do this. And what that is the mythology is that the early 289 FIA cars, the FIA had a suitcase that they would put in the trunk to make the trunk had to be certain cubic inches or cubic whatever feet of space in the trunk to pass the regulations. And you all saw this in the Ford versus Ferrari movie where Christian Bale, Ken Miles' character, was bashing the inside of the trunk with a hammer because the FIA didn't approve it. Well, that was a true story. That really happened. The suitcase wouldn't fit in, so they got in, they bashed the aluminum with a hammer so that it would fit, but the trunk wouldn't latch. So that's when they did the bungee cord deal. And a lot of guys who are making reproduction FIA cars will put in those washers and they will run the bungee over their trunk handle. Now this pile of garbage doesn't even have a trunk handle because the trunk lid is too short. This trunk lid should come way down to here. If it was anything like the originals, which it's not. So I don't have a trunk handle. So even if I wanted to do that, I'm gonna have to put some kind of post, some kind of stanchion underneath the license plate, and I can run a bungee cord to that. It will look kind of cool, I guess, but I will essentially have a bungee cord holding my trunk shut. So yeah, that is where we're at. Sorry to be so negative, but I just want to let you know it's seriously, it may be a few weeks before we see a video, and I've had it up to my eyeballs with this thing. I'm really, my motivation is at an all-time low. I'm tired of it. So anyway, thanks for listening to me. It's been almost 6 minutes. I truly do appreciate your support, my friends. I still read and reply to all the comments. I appreciate if you give me the thumbs up. I appreciate if you share my videos. And if you're new to the channel, you're still here, please give me a sub. Oh, somebody told me they didn't like it when I went whoosh at the end of my videos. I get criticized for that. So whatever, I kind of like it. Whatever, it is what it is. I'm going to keep doing it. It's amateurish. Well, I'm an amateur. So, whoosh, Cobra. Thanks for watching, my friends.